Anthropic was supposed to be the cautious one, the safety lab.
ARR growing at some exponential.
Interesting.
Dario calls it AGI. I call it the biggest monopoly in human history.
3 days earlier, they shipped Claude Opus 4.8. Here's how a single GPU deal turned the safe lab into a monopoly.
It's an interesting way to put it. Don't disagree. All right, first story. Elon just leased all of Colossus 1, his data center.
He did? Nostradamus? What?
What? Yes, shocking to Dario and Anthropic, Chamath, on last week's pod. Go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back. You said Elon and Dario should do a deal tomorrow. It didn't happen. The next day, it happened 5 days later. So you came close, Chamath, but no cigar because of Anthropic's obvious compute constraints. Anthropic just added over 220,000 NVIDIA GPUs, over 300 megawatts of energy. The deal is already having an impact, as we've discussed here. Claude users have been experiencing rate limits. Well, Claude has now doubled the Claude Code rate limits, removed peak usage caps for paid users, and increased API volumes for Opus models. XAI is now training their models at Colossus 2. So they have more than enough compute. Elon made a great bet on compute and built up those data centers really fast. And that is now paying off. We had the Cursor deal we talked about last week. Let's talk about the emergence of Elon Web Services, EWS, Chamath. He's now in the hyperscaler competing against Google Cloud, Amazon Web Services, and Azure. And I don't know if you had inside information or just a brilliant epiphany, but take us behind the call. And what do you think about the deal itself?
I think the deal is fantastic. I'll say maybe 3 quick things. The first is, as I mentioned a couple...
So Elon Musk just handed Anthropic over 220,000 GPUs, and the compute wall came down overnight. What did they do with it? 3 days later, on May 28th, they shipped Claude Opus 4.8, just 42 days after their last model. The cadence is the story.
To have a frontier model company, but he's able to now not have these massive unpaid for CapEx commitments, right? Because he's able to kind of lease that capacity. So I think it solves a major problem for them and their balance sheet. And then you have to say that for Anthropic, this is a really great thing because they were compute constrained. And just to build on that point, I mean, I guess let me be the first to congratulate Dario on winning the AI race.
And you've been, let's be honest, Sachs, you have been, on this podcast, you've been moderately critical of that company and Dario himself for being, a little P-doomer 110. And on your X account, you've been even a little spicier. So now that there's peace in the Middle East of the AI business, what's your take here?
My take is, look, let's just honestly and accurately assess where the state of this AI market is at right now and Anthropic's place within it. So for the last 3 years, Anthropic has been growing at a rate of 10x a year. I think going into this year, probably the conventional wisdom was that there'd be no way to sustain that kind of rate of growth at this level of scale. And what happened in the first 4 months of the year? First, we find out that from January 1st to March 31st, they grew from roughly 10 billion of ARR to 30 billion. So it tripled. And then in April, if anything, the rate of increase seemed to accelerate. They went from 30 to 44 billion of ARR.
And it's not just speed. Opus 4.8 beats GPT 5.5 on more than 12 benchmarks. 88.6% on SWE-bench verified, 69% on the harder pro set, and 84% on browser tasks, the best computer use model anyone has shipped. When the panel says Anthropic is winning the race, this is the scoreboard they mean.
400 to 500 billion a year right now of revenue. I mean, I guess NVIDIA is a little bit of a different category, but you look at the
Google. Hyperscalers, the three hyperscalers.
Yeah. I mean, Google is doing what, like 120 billion a quarter, something like that? 100 billion a quarter?
Correct.
But growing at what, 20% year over year? Not 100%. It's certainly not 1,000%. So the fact that Anthropic could be on track, in fact, let me correct that.
You see them going to the Magate. It'll be a Magate.
I'm saying something else, which is that unless something about their current trajectory changes, Anthropic will be the most powerful monopoly ever created in human history.
Oh.
Again, it will be, $1 trillion of ARR growing at some exponential.
Interesting.
Dario calls it AGI. I call it the biggest monopoly in human history.
Interesting to hear that word monopoly, Sachs. Very interesting placement. Chamath, go ahead. And then
Apple in 2025 was 420 billion. Microsoft was 300 billion. Alphabet was 390 billion. Amazon 700 billion. Nvidia 190 billion. Meta 185 billion. Tesla 110 billion total. About 2.3 to 2.35 trillion. So if Sachs is right, and Anthropic, can tack on $1 trillion, it won't be the.
But a lead isn't a moat. So why monopoly? 3 reasons. 1, fast mode. The same model, 2.5 times faster at a third of the price. Anthropic's first ever price cut. 2, alignment. Opus 4.8 is 4 times less likely to let bad code slip through, near their safest model ever. 3, dynamic workflows. Claude Code can now spin up hundreds of agents in parallel and check its own work. Speed, trust, and scale at once.
7, it'll be the Mag 1.
Just to put it in perspective, though, Dario on Dworkish said he thought the combined AI revenue of the market leaders would be about $1 trillion in 29. I love what you're saying, Sachs. I think there is unlimited TAM. We may be over our skis a little bit in terms of, the forecast. If you back your way from compute, right? They expect to have 5 gigs by the end of this year, 10 gigs by the end of next year. It's kind of hard to get to those numbers for a single company, but I do believe that the trajectory that they're on, I totally agree with you, is on an exponential that not many people believed in 4 months ago.
Right. So then the question is, okay, I think we all agree they're on an exponential curve and that the TAM is big enough to support that. Just one data point on TAM. My understanding of the total market size just on coding is 1 trillion, meaning that $1 trillion a year roughly is spent on software developers and all things related to the creation of software. Now, I'm not saying that they eat that entire market, but I can easily see the market for software
I think it's doubling. More than that.
Well, hold on, doubling from $1 trillion to $2 trillion, given that coding tokens basically 10x's or 100x's the value of that market and the ability to generate code. So I think we all agree that the TAM here is large enough to support $1 trillion of revenue. Brad, I think you bring up a couple of really important constraints. First, there may not be enough compute and there's not enough energy. I'd say the second big one is
That's why the comparison isn't Google. It's every monopoly at once. Anthropic just crossed a $965 billion valuation, racing OpenAI to an IPO. But here's the honest question. Is a company growing 10 times a year actually a monopoly, or just the one in front for now?
Can command that multiple, and it's Elon, and it's deserved, and it's great for the country.
Tesla has that same Elon variable in it as well, which is people value his companies at, I would say, 2 times market, 3 times market, 4 times market because of the future pipeline. And they devalue Apple because they don't have somebody like Elon or Steve Jobs there who is giving them the future.
I don't think it's devalued. I think
or properly valued if you don't have an Elon and you have somebody like, I think that's exactly what it is. We talked about this last week, but explain why you think it's different.
I think all of these companies are actually very fairly valued. And then Elon World gets a premium.
Totally.
And that premium is because of what you guys said. That I agree with. The big message that I take away from this, which the markets and retail are telling you, is
maintain inertia and you win by default. That's the bet. So, is Anthropic building the most powerful monopoly in history? Or is this just what a lead looks like before the others catch up? Tell me in the comments. This is Frontier Cut, the signal in the noise.